Strap in, I'm back with another one. Twitter Files Part 7, tweeted by Michael Schellenberger on December 19th, 2022, entitled The FBI and the Hunter Biden Laptop. How the FBI and intelligence community discredited factual information about Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings both after and before the New York Post revealed the contents of his laptop on October 14th, 2020. In Twitter File 6, we saw the FBI relentlessly seek to exercise influence over Twitter, including its content, its users, and its data. In Twitter File 7, we present evidence pointing to an organized effort by representatives of the intelligence community, the IC, aimed at senior executives at news and social media companies to discredit leaked information about Hunter Biden before and after it was published. The story begins in December of 2019 when a Delaware computer store owner named John Paul Mac Isaac contacts the FBI about a laptop that Hunter Biden had left with him. On December 9th, 2019, the FBI issues a subpoena for and takes Hunter Biden's laptop. By August of 2020, Mac Isaac still hadn't heard back from the FBI, even though he had discovered evidence of criminal activity. And so he emails Rudy Giuliani, who was under FBI surveillance at the time. In early October, Giuliani gives it to New York Post. Shortly before 7 p.m. Eastern Time on October 13th, Hunter Biden's lawyer, George Messiers, emails JP Mac Isaac. Hunter and Messiers had just learned from the New York Post that its story about the laptop would be published the next day. At 9:22 p.m. Eastern, FBI Special Agent Elvis Chan sends 10 documents to Twitter's then head of site integrity, Yoel Roth, through Teleporter, a one-way communications channel from the FBI to Twitter. The next day, October 14th, 2020, the New York Post runs its explosive story revealing the business dealings of President Joe Biden's son, Hunter. Every single fact in it was accurate. And yet, within hours, Twitter and other social media companies censor the New York Post article, preventing it from spreading, and more importantly, undermining its credibility in the minds of many Americans. Why is that? What exactly happened? On December 2nd, Matt Taibbi described the debate inside Twitter over its decision to censor a wholly accurate article. Since then, we've discovered new information that points to an organized effort by the intel community to influence Twitter and other platforms. First, it's important to understand that Hunter Biden earned tens of millions of dollars in contracts with foreign businesses, including ones linked to China's government, for which Hunter offered no real work. Here's an overview by investigative journalist Peter Schweitzer.
What we know is that the Biden family has benefited from commercial deals overseas to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. That's not in dispute. That's based on the so-called suspicious activity reports that the Treasury Department has released because a U.S. Senate committee asked for it. These documents show the flow of funds from Russian, Ukrainian, and Chinese sources, among others. So we know there's been a flow of funds.
And yet, during all of 2020, the FBI and other law enforcement agencies repeatedly primed Yoel Roth to dismiss reports of Hunter Biden's laptop as a Russian hack and leak operation. This is from a sworn declaration by Roth given in December 2020. They did the same to Facebook, according to CEO Mark Zuckerberg.
The background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that.
Were the FBI warnings of a Russian hack and leak operation relating to Hunter Biden based on any new intel? No, they weren't. Through our investigations, we did not see any similar competing intrusions to what had happened in 2016, admitted FBI agent Elvis Chan in November. Indeed, Twitter executives repeatedly reported very little Russian activity. For example, on September 24th, 2020, Twitter told FBI it had removed 345 largely inactive accounts linked to previous coordinated Russian hacking attempts. They had little reach and low follower accounts. In fact, Twitter debunked false claims by journalists of foreign influence on its platform. We haven't seen any evidence to support that claim by @1_@NBC news of foreign controlled bots. Our review thus far shows a small-scale domestic troll effort. After FBI asks about a WAPO story on alleged foreign influence in a pro-Trump tweet, Twitter's Roth says, "The article makes a lot of insinuations, but we saw no evidence that was the case here, and in fact, a lot of strong evidence pointing in the other direction." It's not the first time that Twitter's Roth has pushed back against the FBI. In January of 2020, Roth resisted FBI efforts to get Twitter to share data outside of the normal search and warrant process. Pressure had been growing. We have seen a sustained, if uncoordinated, effort by the IC, intelligence community, to push us to share more information and change our API policies. They are probing and pushing everywhere they can, including by whispering to congressional staff. Time and again, FBI asks Twitter for evidence of foreign influence, and Twitter responds that they aren't finding anything worth reporting. We haven't yet identified activity that we typically refer to or even flag as interesting in the foreign influence context. Despite Twitter's pushback, the FBI repeatedly requests information from Twitter that Twitter has already made clear it will not share outside of normal legal channels. Then in July of 2020, the FBI's Elvis Chan arranges for temporary top-secret security clearances for Twitter executives so that the FBI can share information about threats to the upcoming elections. On August 11, 2020, the FBI's Chan shares information with Twitter's Roth relating to Russian hacking organization APT28, though through the FBI's secure one-way communications channel Teleporter. Recently, Yoel Roth told @Kara Swisher that he had been primed to think about the Russian hacking group APT28 before news of the Hunter Biden laptop came out. When it did, Roth said,
"But it set off every single one of my finely tuned APT28 hack and leak campaign alarm bells."
In August 2020, FBI's Chan asked Twitter, "Does anyone have any top secret clearance?" When someone mentions Jim Baker, Chan responds, "I don't know how I forgot him." An odd claim given Chan's job is to monitor Twitter, not to mention that they work together at the FBI. Who's Jim Baker? He's former general counsel of the FBI from 2014 to 2018 and one of the most powerful men in the U.S. intel community. Baker has moved in and out of government for 30 years, serving stints at CNN, Bridgewater, which is a $140 billion asset management firm, and Brookings. There's that name again. As general counsel of the FBI, Baker played a central role in making the case internally for an investigation of Donald Trump. Baker wasn't the only senior FBI exec involved in the Trump investigation to go to Twitter. Dawn Burton, the former department chief of staff to FBI head James Comey, who initiated the investigation of Trump, joined Twitter in 2019 as director of strategy. As of 2020, there were so many former FBI employees working at Twitter that they had created their own private Slack channel and a crib sheet to onboard new FBI arrivals. Efforts continued to influence Twitter's Yoel Roth. In September of 2020, Roth participated in an Aspen Institute tabletop exercise on a potential hack and dump operation relating to Hunter Biden. The goal was to shape how the media covered it and how special media carried it. The organizer was Vivian Schiller, the former CEO of NPR, former head of news at Twitter, former general manager of New York Times, and former chief digital officer of NBC News. Attendees included Meta, Facebook's head of security policy, and the top national security reporters for the New York Times, WAPO, and others. By mid-September of 2020, Chan and Roth had set up an encrypted messaging network so employees from FBI and Twitter could communicate. They also agreed to create a virtual war room for all of the Internet Industry Plus, FBI, and ODNI, which is Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Then on September 15th, 2020, the FBI's Laura Demlow, who heads up the Foreign Influence Task Force, and Elvis Chan request to give a classified briefing for Jim Baker without any other Twitter staff, such as Yoel Roth, present. On October 14th, shortly after New York Post publishes its Hunter Biden laptop story, Roth says, "It isn't clearly violative of our hacked materials policy, nor is it clearly in violation of anything else," but adds, This feels a lot like a somewhat subtle leak operation. In response to Roth, Baker repeatedly insists that the Hunter Biden materials were either faked, hacked, or both, and a violation of Twitter policy. Baker does so over email and in a Google Doc on October 14th and 15th. And yet, it's inconceivable Baker believed the Hunter Biden emails were either faked or hacked. And the New York Post had included a picture of the receipt signed by Hunter Biden and an FBI subpoena that showed that the agency had taken possession of the laptop in December of 2019. As for the FBI, it likely would have taken a few hours for it to confirm that the laptop had belonged to Hunter Biden. Indeed, it only took a few hours for journalist Peter Schweitzer to prove it. By 10 a.m., Twitter execs had brought into a wild hack and dump story. The suggestion from experts, which rings true, is there was a hack that happened separately, and they loaded the hacked materials on the laptop that magically appeared at a repair shop in Delaware. At 3:38 p.m. that same day, October 14th, Baker arranges a phone conversation with Matthew J. Perry in the office of the General Counsel of the FBI. The influence operation persuaded Twitter execs that the Hunter Biden laptop did not come from a whistleblower. One linked to a Hill article based on a Washington Post article from October 15th, which falsely suggested that Giuliani's leak of the laptop had something to do with Russia. There's evidence that the FBI agent had warned elected officials of foreign influence from the primary goal of leaking the information to the news media. This is a political dirty trick used to create the perception of impropriety. In 2020, the FBI gave a briefing to Senator Grassley and Johnson claiming evidence of Russian interference into their investigation of Hunter Biden. The briefing angered the senators, who say it was done to discredit their investigation. The unnecessary FBI briefing provided the Democrats and liberal media the vehicle to spread their false narrative that our work advanced Russian disinformation. Notably, then FBI General Counsel Jim Baker was investigated twice in 2017 and 2019 for leaking information to the news media. You're saying he's under criminal investigation? That's why you're not letting him answer, Meadows asked. Yes. In the end, the FBI's influence campaign aimed at executives at news media, Twitter, and other social media companies worked. They censored and discredited the Hunter Biden laptop story. By December of 2020, Baker and his colleagues even sent a note of thanks to the FBI for its work. The FBI's influence campaign may have been helped by the fact that it was paying Twitter millions of dollars for its staff time. I'm happy to report we've collected $3,415,323 since October of 2019, reports an associate of Jim Baker in early 2021, and the pressure from the FBI on social media platforms continues. In August of 2022, Twitter execs prepared for a meeting with the FBI, whose goal was to convince us to produce on more FBI EDRs. EDRs are an emergency disclosure request, a warrantless search. In response to the Twitter files revelation of high-level FBI agents at Twitter, Jim Jordan said, "I have concerns about whether the government was running a misinformation operation on we the people. Anyone who reads the Twitter files or listens to it, regardless of their political orientation, should share these concerns." Now that Twitter Files Parts 1 through 7 has revealed to you just how much the FBI and our government covered up and infiltrated media companies to control what you are allowed to see, hear, believe, and think, are you angry yet? How long has this been going on? What other things have they covered up? How does it stop? Now that you know the truth about how the Biden crime family is compromised, I invite you to visit Biden.digital, where you can review the report on the Hunter Biden laptop in its entirety. It's a reader version so that it's searchable by terms and keywords thanks to MarcoPoloUSA.org. If you would like to take a look at Hunter Biden's emails, that is also in searchable format at BidenLaptopEmails.com. I would have shared this with you sooner, but they wouldn't allow us to. Happy reading, and thanks for listening.